Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Winning Digital Customer Show. I'm Howard Tiersky, and today we're going to talk about the loyalty fallacy. What do I mean by that? Well, most of us, no doubt, are members and participants in various loyalty programs. They're super popular. I participated in United Airlines loyalty program and loyalty programs with Macy's and other companies that I do business with. And of course, with my grocery store and with BJ's and Costco. And if you're like most Americans, you probably do too. These programs are extremely popular, but the companies that are investing in them may be misled about what they are really doing and how beneficial they actually are. And some of the digital leaders of today are showing us another way. So that's what I want to talk about today. Are loyalty programs really all they're cracked up to be? And is there a better way to achieve the same goals with better business ROI? Let's look into it. So first of all, as I said in the intro, loyalty programs are extremely popular. In fact, 80% of Americans, according to a study by Reuters, are enrolled in some form of rewards or loyalty program, whether with a credit card or an airline or a grocery store or a gas station or some other kind of retailer or something else. In fact, there are 3.8 billion memberships just in the United States in customer loyalty programs. 3.8 billion memberships. That's from a study by McCore. So you think for a minute, wait a minute, how many people are there? Well, there's about 250 million, 260 million adults living in the United States, and together they hold 3.8 billion membership programs or memberships. That's something like 14 to 18 per adult in the United States, depending on whether you look at one study by Statista, another study by Colloquy. But in any case, it's a lot. Now, they're not all necessarily active. The average American, according to another study, has something like 8 active loyalty programs that they're currently participating in. But still, that is a heck of a lot of programs. And these programs are delivering to consumers, or at least collecting on behalf of consumers, something like $48 billion a year in rewards points, miles, credits, whatever you want to call it, right? The total value of the accrued points or value in these loyalty programs in the United States is something like $48 billion a year. The total cost of these loyalty programs in the United States has been estimated by Statista at something like $75 billion. So of course, 48 billion or thereabout is from the accrued points. And then obviously there are other costs associated with marketing and administering these types of programs. So companies are investing a tremendous amount. In fact, according to Experian, and I have to say, I find this statistic a little bit hard to believe, but according to Experian, 90% of the companies that they studied have some form of loyalty program. And I'm guessing a company like Experian may be studying more B2C companies than B2B companies. So that number may be a little bit inflated in terms of all companies, but nevertheless, clearly there's a huge percentage of companies that have loyalty programs, not just the majority, but the overwhelming majority of companies have some form of loyalty program, especially if they have a part of their business, which is B2C. But here's an interesting observation. Apple, Amazon, Google, Netflix, just as 4 examples. These companies do not have a loyalty program. And by the way, Dell does, although Apple doesn't. Macy's does, and many other retailers for that matter, although Amazon doesn't. Bing does, although Google doesn't. Optimum Online, my cable company, does, although Netflix doesn't. So it's not a matter of the segments that these particular brands are in, and these are just 4. You could find more as well. Many of the most successful brands are opting to not have any type of loyalty program. So that's interesting, considering how high the penetration of loyalty programs is, and perhaps makes us wonder if there's more than meets the eye here and whether these loyalty programs are really all they're cracked up to be. Now, before I go on, I just want to point something out. Some of you, because I know I've got some nitpickers in my audience here, right? People who like to find fault in what I say. And actually, I love that because I love when you give comments and feedback if there's anything that you disagree with me about. So please keep that coming. But I know some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, Apple has a credit card that you can earn rewards on. Amazon has a credit card that you can earn rewards on. I don't think Google or Netflix do. And that's true, but I'm going to exclude that from my analysis here because, the Amazon Prime credit card is not a product from Amazon. That's a product from Synchrony Financial that is simply branded Amazon. That's a revenue source for Amazon. Amazon's not rewarding customers for buying from them. A bank is doing that, and it's really just branded Amazon. And the same is true, I'm pretty sure, of the Apple credit card. So you have credit card products that are sort of co-branded products, but that to me is not a loyalty program for Amazon or these companies. That is a loyalty program for the bank, which is behind the credit card. So just to make that distinction, I stand behind my case here that many of the most successful brands choose not to have a loyalty program. So now let's examine why that might be. Well, first of all, let's just talk about what is the goal of a loyalty program. What is its purpose? Now, you might say, well, Howard, look at the name. Loyalty, right? Okay. What is loyalty? I mean, when we think of loyalty, what does that mean? Well, it's an emotional connection, right? It's a commitment. It is a commitment that transcends the logical, that transcends personal interest. For example, in the military, there's a strong culture of loyalty to your fellow soldiers. We will leave no man on the battlefield. If your comrade is injured and you are in a dangerous situation, you risk your own life to carry that soldier off the battlefield. In fact, even if the soldier has died, you risk your own life to make sure that you do not leave that person behind on the battlefield. You carry them, you drag them, you do whatever it takes to leave no man behind, even when there's no logical, rational sense behind that, beyond the pure emotion and commitment of loyalty. Or I'm sure you've heard these types of stories about a dog who's been loyal to his owner his whole life. Stories of dogs that, a child will be in danger and the dog will risk its own life to save the child, or a dog's owner will die and that dog will show up every day. I mean, I've read the same story, I feel like multiple times, about different dogs in different parts of the country where an owner has died and that dog will show up every single day at that owner's gravesite to, out of loyalty to that person, even after they've died. So that's loyalty. So in that context, and of course, a word in the English language can mean a lot of different things, but that to me is what loyalty is really about. It's some kind of strong emotional commitment. And there are other flavors, but let me ask you, does it seem true to you that these types of points-based programs are generating that kind of loyalty, that kind of connection with the customer, the kind that transcends logic, the kind that makes that customer committed and dedicated to your brand? I would argue, no, I don't think they are. Loyalty programs do something very specific. They reward not emotion, but repeat transactions. And they do successfully stimulate repeat transactions. If I go to the same gas station every day, if I fly the same airline every month, I'm going to be considered loyal, at least in the vocabulary of loyalty programs. But I just want to make sure we're thinking about it that way, because that's actually not loyalty. Now, we can call it loyalty if we want. I don't care, but it's a completely different meaning of loyalty. And it means simply I measure you as loyal if you keep coming back to me over and over to do business. That is what we mean by loyalty. But I just want to point something out. Sorry, if we look at the companies that aren't doing loyalty programs, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, do these companies engender in their customers the other meaning of loyalty, the emotional meaning of loyalty? I'm not saying that if Tim Cook was dying on the battlefield and you needed to risk your life, you'd carry him off. But I would ask you to answer for yourself. How much emotional connection do customers have to these brands? If one of these brands were to go away, how much emotional reaction would people have compared to the brands whose loyalty cards you're carrying in your wallet right now, or little barcodes you have on your car keys. I would suggest to you that the most successful companies at creating true customer loyalty, emotional dedication, such that that customer will pay more if necessary for your product, will stand in line if necessary for your product, will get excited about your Amazon Prime Day, right? Will want to see your new product, will read blogs about what you've got coming out because they believe in you and they want to be part of what you're doing as a company. These companies tend not to have loyalty programs. So I point that out just again to say, that's interesting. If our goal in loyalty programs is to create emotional loyalty, there doesn't seem to be the world's strongest correlation. Although, like I said, there is a correlation to repeat transactions. And here's a little statistic to make the point that I've just been making more intuitively. Accenture did a study, and this was 4 or 5 years ago, and they asked consumers about the impact of loyalty programs on their feelings of loyalty. And 71% of consumers say that loyalty programs do not engender loyalty. So, little data to support my contention. Now, that doesn't mean they're bad to do. It doesn't mean that they don't achieve a positive business impact. It doesn't mean they don't cause repeat transactions. They may, but let's not confuse ourselves and think they're creating loyalty. This is part of, and that's why one of the reasons I titled today's livecast The Loyalty Fallacy. This is part of the fallacy. They do something, but it's not loyalty. Okay, so let's move on. Let's look at a contrast. Let's take a look at one of these companies and consider, what do they do? Well, they do a variety of things, including deliver a great customer experience. And in my book, Winning Digital Customers, I talk at length about how delivering an outstanding customer experience, particularly for today's digital audience, is the true path to emotional loyalty, and how that kind of emotional loyalty is where the value is. Loyalty programs are named after what it is we really want. It's just that they don't deliver that. So I think ultimately that's really the path. And I go into great detail in my book about the 5 steps to transform your organization to deserve and earn customer love and true emotional customer loyalty, as these and other companies have successfully done. But let's look at a little bit of a case study in a narrower way. Let's look at a program, not just the overall experience that one of these brands is running. And that is Amazon Prime. Now, what is Amazon Prime? Is Amazon Prime a loyalty program? Well, no, not in any traditional sense. First of all, you don't earn anything with Amazon Prime. There are no points. There are no discounts. I mean, there are occasionally discounts for being a Prime member. So just to be clear, that's true. But primarily, the value of Amazon Prime are things like free shipping, additional content. So Amazon Prime is a subscription service. It is not fundamentally anything like the types of loyalty programs that credit cards and banks and stores have, where they reward you for your purchases in exchange for something of value. You get the same benefits from Amazon Prime no matter how much you purchase. That's not how it works. So it is not a loyalty program. It is a subscription program. It costs, and maybe slightly different in different parts of the world, but in the US anyway, it costs $119 a year. So wait a second. Amazon has a program. They don't pay you. They don't give you points that you can spend. You pay them to be part of their program, the Amazon Prime program. And do you belong to Amazon Prime? I don't know, but the vast majority of Americans do. There's over 200 million Amazon Prime subscribers. 147 million are based in the US. So for the second time in this livecast, I'm just going to remind you that the number of adults in the US is something like 260 million. So way over half of all adults are members of Amazon Prime. And furthermore, because it can be shared within a family, it may very well be that the number of total households that are touched by Amazon Prime that have subscriptions to Amazon Prime is actually way over half. So huge penetration. I can't think of any other program that has that kind of penetration. It may be that more people belong to Amazon Prime than vote, that return their census forms, right? I mean, it's just an enormously high penetration. So very successful program from the perspective of getting people engaged. And I would guess that most businesses don't have even in a loyalty program that pays the customer money, more than half of Americans. I can't imagine there's a loyalty program that has more than half of Americans signed up. So this program that you pay them, they don't pay you, has way more penetration than, I don't have a stat that says this for sure, but I'm strongly presuming more than any existing loyalty program of the traditional nature. Now, what does this program cost Amazon? Remember that the traditional loyalty programs are costing businesses in the United States. I gave the statistic before. It was, I forget the exact number, but many tens of billions of dollars. What does Amazon Prime cost Amazon? Well, Amazon Prime brings in revenue to Amazon. How much revenue? Amazon Prime brings in over $25 billion a year in Prime subscriptions. Over $25 billion, which makes sense because they have, what did I say earlier? Hundreds of millions of participants. So $25 billion a year. And by the way, that went up 31% year over year. So that is a massively growing program, bringing Amazon $25 billion a year in revenue. That's before they get the benefits of any customer loyalty or transactions or anything like that. That's just the subscription revenue. Now, to be fair, of course, Amazon spends money to deliver Amazon Prime. It includes some video services, some other benefits, and of course, it includes expedited shipping. So Amazon is spending some money to deliver against this $25 billion. I don't have any profit data on it, but I'm suspecting that this is a program which is highly, highly profitable for Amazon. Just to get a sense, and again, you may intuitively be thinking to yourself, I wonder how much this program costs. I don't know, but look at it this way. If Amazon Prime, just that program, were a Fortune 500 company based on revenue, it would be roughly number 60 on the Fortune 500. Just their, it's not a loyalty program, but whatever you want to call it, just their customer subscription program. That would be approximately where Best Buy is. Amazon brings in as much subscription revenue from Amazon Prime as the revenue of Best Buy. So what does it cost Best Buy to run their stores, including all their physical locations, all their employees, all of their inventory, and all of their marketing? What does all that cost? I'm guessing a heck of a lot more than Amazon spends to give you some expedited shipping. And obviously they spend money producing movies and other things, but nevertheless, this is a wildly profitable program. And if you look beyond the money they get from the subscription revenue, the impact on their customers' purchase behavior is measurable and significant. So one study by Consumer Intelligence Research Partners shows that members of Amazon Prime purchase from Amazon roughly 25 times a year, roughly every other week. Whereas non-Prime members purchase an average of 14 times per week. So not quite doubling the number of times they purchase. They also buy more when they purchase because the total amount they spend on Amazon each year is more than double. Amazon Prime members spend about $1,300 per year on average, whereas non-Prime members spend less than half of that. So now you could always argue that people who spend more on Amazon are more inclined to get Prime, so the causality versus correlation argument is a reasonable one. Nevertheless, even people who are purchasing regularly on Amazon who don't sign up for Prime, they don't seem to purchase as frequently. So I can't tell you exactly how much is causality versus correlation. And by the way, the same is true of any loyalty program, right? You could say, well, if you create a traditional loyalty program, the people who shop from you regularly may very well, of course, want to be the ones on your loyalty program, and then they're earning points for perhaps purchases they would have made anyway, right? So it's always tough to know which is a cause and which is simply correlated. But nevertheless, clearly this is a program that is highly correlated at the very least, and most likely having a very significant causation on people's purchases. And it makes sense because if you have already invested in the subscription, which gives you expedited shipping, and you have the option to buy the same product somewhere else, where either they're going to make you pay for shipping or it's going to come slower, if the price is comparable, you've set yourself up for a natural competitive advantage that is going to make people more likely to want to buy on Amazon. And by the way, it's also estimated that Amazon Prime members grow in their purchase over time. The typical Amazon Prime member increases their spend by an average of 12% year over year. So the more you're in the program, the more you get the benefits, the more you see the benefits, the more likely you are to choose to purchase from Amazon the next time. So this is a very, very successful program. They're getting people to increase their spend over time. They're getting more purchases, and they're getting more money per purchase. Now, you could say to yourself, sure, but don't loyalty programs do that too? And the answer is yes. If you have a traditional loyalty program, it is reasonable to expect that customers will buy more often from you. They may buy more, and they may have their spend increase over time if they see enough value in the points they're getting from the loyalty program. Absolutely. The question is, how much? Now, I've been involved in a lot of loyalty programs. I can't give you the data on any of the programs that I've worked with my clients on, but here's an example case study that's being positioned on the internet as a real success. And this is from Pacifica Cosmetics. So Pacifica Cosmetics created a loyalty program, and the case study on the internet that's being promoted, I've not worked with this company, is that they increased repeat purchase 44%. So someone who used to buy once now buys 1.4 times, right? Someone who bought 10 times now buys 14 times. And they have increased the spend by 22%. So the average total spend per customer, if it was $100, now it's $122. And this is through a loyalty program of the traditional sort, which is giving points. I don't know all the details of the program, but it's a traditional loyalty program of the type that you would typically think of at a retailer or a bank or an airline, which, let's be honest, this is really kind of just a form of discounting, right? The traditional loyalty program, and I don't mean to say there's anything wrong with discounting, because there's no question that discounting, loyalty programs being a kind of discounting, can stimulate sales. Absolutely. If I cut the price of something, can I get more people to buy it? Absolutely, 100%. Or if I say, if you buy a $500 airline ticket from me, I'll give you $50 credit back towards a future airline ticket, which is essentially what those points are. Does that stimulate sales? I mean, sure, absolutely. That is an effective discounting strategy. But again, let's just understand what it is. It is essentially, in most cases, there are some loyalty programs that have different components, but most loyalty programs are heavily rooted in some method of discounting in exchange for repeat purchases. But what we see here is that the effect of those repeat purchases, in this particular case, is a 22% increase in spend. And of course, I've seen a variety of different data on different programs, but this is not uncommon, right? This is considered pretty good, right? You got your customers in the program to spend 22% more. Of course, what did it cost you? How much of that 22% increase in spend is eaten up by the cost of having the program, administering the program, and the value of the points or other credits that you've given as rewards for purchasing? In other words, the amount of the discount. Don't know in the case of this particular brand. But I can tell you that that's kind of typical. And of course, there are always outliers. But if you compare, again, $50 billion being spent, or I think it was $75 billion, including the value of the points and the value of the running the programs in the US per year, running loyalty programs. And a result like this, a 20% lift, let's say, 30% lift in the spend from the people who are in the program. And then you look at a program like what Amazon is doing, where they are receiving $50 billion a year. They're receiving in subscription fees almost as much as all of the loyalty programs in the United States are costing these other companies. And furthermore, they're not driving a 22% lift. They're doubling their number of their dollars or more. They're almost doubling their number of visits, and it's growing year over year. Something to think about. Now, is Amazon's style of program suitable for your business? It may not be. I'm not saying that it is. But I'm just, again, pointing out some food for thought about the value of loyalty programs, who's using them and who's not, and some of the alternatives that are being used out there that result in loyalty and or certainly result in repeat purchases. Because I'm not sure if Amazon Prime is the main thing that results in emotional loyalty to Amazon. I'm not necessarily going to argue that it is. For myself as a customer, what makes me loyal to Amazon is the reliability. I can count on them, their customer service, the driver who delivers things, the reviews, my shopping experience. It's not the deal. It's not the free shipping. To me, that's not really what makes me feel emotionally connected. But does that influence the frequency of my transactions? I think it does. And when you have both a great customer experience that is creating emotional commitment, and you have a program that makes it feel like you're getting a better value, well, you have a very powerful kind of two-punch combination to drive growth and drive market differentiation. And of course, again, what's so amazing for Amazon is this is not a program that costs them money. This is a program that makes them money, which of course is genius. So Amazon obviously has tremendous scale, and this type of model may not be appropriate for every business, but why not think about it? Because you don't have to be of Amazon scale. If you're running a niche business, but that still has customers that order frequently, copycatting some aspects of what Amazon Prime does isn't undoable, even at a much, much, much smaller scale. You could provide additional content to people who participate in a subscription program, just like Amazon does. Again, you may not have 250 million customers. Imagine you had 10,000 customers, though, who were paying you a certain amount a year to get additional valuable video content or other kind of content, to get some shipping benefits and other things. Of course, Amazon's not the only one who's employed a program such as this. GNC was running one for a number of years, and no doubt there are others that are copying this model, but it's not super, super common right now. So hopefully this video is giving you something to think about what you're doing around loyalty programs, or even what you're considering doing around loyalty programs if you don't have one right now, putting them a little bit in context and perspective. Someone can always show you some other numbers and other stats that make loyalty programs look really, really good. I've only shown you certain stats here. We only have so much time. So I've certainly encouraged you to, in your particular industry, in your particular case, always weigh the merits of any marketing program, whether it's loyalty or otherwise, to decide whether it's going to meet your needs. And just to be clear, I'm not saying you shouldn't have a loyalty program. I just want you to have your eyes open. And I wanted to dispel a few myths and point out a few fallacies in the idea of the loyalty program, and talk about what some, or at least in this case, one top company is doing instead of running anything like a traditional points-based loyalty program. So with that, I hope this has been interesting. Let me know your thoughts. Please send me your comments. Let me know what you think of these points. Feel free to argue with me. I welcome that. And I thank you as always for watching and listening. And until next time, keep transforming.